Over the last 28 days, the Ron DeSantis email program has sent 68 emails containing a footer with a glaring typo in it. I recently wrote a blog post outlining a particularly bad email from Ron DeSantis. I want to walk you through it.
The post is called Ron DeSantis Sends Really Bad Emails.
Because Ron DeSantis sends really bad emails. Let's start with the subject line.
Will you stand against Satanism?
You know what? I don't hate that subject line. The primary goal of an email subject line is to get me to open the email, and it got me to open the email. It's a garbage freaking subject line, don't get me wrong, but it did what it needed to do. It got me to open the email. So on that front, he gets 1 point. 1 point for Ron DeSantis and Satanism.
Next up, we see this part of the email.
That's essentially the whole email, but it's only about 20% of the entire email because he includes a massive footer in all of his emails. And we'll get into that in a minute. But let's talk about this part, the meat of this email.
So in the email, he wants you to know that a Christian veteran is facing charges for tearing down a satanic temple statue constructed in the Iowa state capitol. He wants us to sign a petition saying, unclear.
Because there is no kind of petition that's going to make what this guy did okay. And right there, Team DeSantis failed a big old important issue in their email program, and that is that they ignored the theory of change. If you're not familiar with theory of change, it's the idea that the ask you are making can lead to the outcome you are promising. So if you ask somebody for $5 to change the world, they're just going to roll their eyes. There's no way $5 is going to change the world. But if you ask for $5 to print up a few dozen more pieces of lit, yeah, okay, I believe in that. I think that that's possible. The theory of change is real. In this email, his theory of change is, this guy did something terrible, but we want to stand with him, sign our petition. What is that petition possibly going to do for him? Unclear, right? There's a lot of other issues with this email as far as the policy and the politics. For one, this guy drove from Mississippi to Iowa and destroyed a state-approved religious display because he didn't approve of the religion. His email program and even the code word to get onto his text message program is freedom. For him, he's saying that this guy who destroyed a display deserves freedom. But what about the people who put up the display? They don't have freedom to leave their display up. And Iowa had a decision whether or not this was an acceptable display, and they chose it was. So the state of Iowa doesn't get the freedom to decide. The people who put up the display don't get the decision to decide. But this guy who went and, the quote, Christian veteran who went and destroyed the display, he should have the freedom to destroy whatever he wants if it offends his sensibilities. Not exactly my idea of freedom, but all of that's policy. Let's just get back into email. I went ahead and clicked sign the petition today. Of course, that's what we're doing here, right?
When I got there, here's what I saw. It's a photo, presumably of Ron and Casey DeSantis being blessed in a church or something, but not exactly clear. And yes, there is a word here. It says, stand with Ron DeSantis against Satanism. But that is the only thing connecting this landing page with the ask that he made.
Not ideal, but fine. Everybody's busy. They threw together a quick landing page with one word to tie it in. Fine. But I filled it out, and here's where I was redirected.
To this picture of him with his family. Now you'll notice here, it says, thank you for taking our survey. Chip in $5 or more to get a bumper sticker.
I didn't take a survey. I signed a petition. His landing page does not match the ask that was made. Yet another huge mistake from his digital program. I signed a petition. The thank you should say, thanks for signing our petition. Not thanks for taking our survey, because now I'm confused. I'm saying to myself, if I don't know better, wait, did I do the wrong thing? What's happening? No, I do this for a living. I know exactly what happened. But the average person on his list probably has no idea what's going on. The upsell, kind of gross, but also totally fine, totally acceptable. But he also didn't send me an email thanking me for signing his petition or taking his survey or whatever. Why not let me know that they received it and keep the conversation going? So that's another fail from Team DeSantis. There's a rule in email newsletter fundraising that an email gets one ask. Any more than one ask, and you're essentially asking for nothing. There's kind of like a joke that's not a joke, that you can make a second ask in the PS. So the whole email should be based around a single ask, a single goal, and then if you want your PS to have a second one, you can do that. How many asks did this email have? A whole lot. Let's break them down. So first, they asked me to sign their petition /survey /whatever.
Next up in the email, they want to move some merch. Here's what I saw in the merch section. Now you'll notice this hat, A, doesn't look real, and B, is too hard to read. When I say it doesn't look real, I mean it looks like somebody threw that on in Photoshop. It doesn't actually look like that's a printed hat. But whatever. If I want to buy merch, I have two options according to this section of the email. I can text merch to the campaign,
which I sure as hell am not going to do. I've given them my email. I am not giving them my phone number.
So they also have a QR code. That's nice.
You would think the QR code would go straight to the merch store where you could buy merch. You'd be wrong. When I opened up the QR code, what it did was automatically default to setting up a text message for me to text merch to the campaign. So I abandoned quickly. That is just a bizarre choice. Now, I'm a digital practitioner. I know well enough to know that this whole thing is an image, and images are often clickable. It doesn't say click here, which it should have if they wanted you to, but I went ahead and clicked the button. Did it take me to a merch store? It did not. It took me to
this, the same place to sign the petition.
It's just so sloppy. If you're going to try and move merch, connect that to merch. Don't connect it back to what you were doing before. It makes no sense to do that. Nobody who's trying to buy merch wants to also go back to your initial ask. Sloppy digital work. The next part is my favorite by far.
They have what is essentially a PSA letting you know that there's a problem. Attention with 2 siren emojis. Heads up, we have a pre-checked the monthly donor box on our fundraising page. Monthly donors make a huge difference for our team and help us plan ahead. If one donation was all it took to defeat Joe Biden next November, then we wouldn't ask for your help more than we already have. But unfortunately, it's going to take more than that to win. Please keep this box checked so that we can count on your support.
There's an extremely unscrupulous and unethical thing that happens, mostly on the right. Democrats don't really do this, like Act Blue doesn't really allow it, where they automatically default to making recurring boxes pre-checked. Donald Trump got in a ton of trouble for this. Google Donald Trump recurring donations, and you'll find a bunch of press about it. Essentially, when you give a donation, they pre-check boxes to make it repeat a bunch of times, monthly, sometimes more often than that even. It's extremely unethical. It's bad practice. It pisses off your donors. Donald Trump wound up having to refund almost 10% of all the money he brought in, which is an astronomical amount of money because he was essentially scamming seniors who didn't read the box in full, which is not on them. It's on him. He was doing it intentionally. Him and his team were stealing money from their donors because they just wanted more money. The DeSantis team, there's not even an ask here. There's no button here to donate, but the DeSantis team wants you to know that they are going to scam you if you give them money, unless you are very careful and don't want them to, which is just such a messed up thing to do. But it gets better.
Help ups plan ahead.
Help ups. Typos happen in email. They happen all the time. I've written thousands of emails in my life. You better believe I've had typos. I'm pained every time. Here's the thing about this typo. They have sent this exact wording 68 times in the last 28 days. That's an average of over 2.4 times per day. They are sending a typo to every single person on their list. I literally just can't. But let's continue.
Next up, they want you to volunteer.
Fine.
And then we get a 375-word bio with 2 photos. And yes, I counted 375-word bio at the end of this email. This little novella here, making sure if you don't already know Ron DeSantis, you can get to know him. One thing I loved, he went straight from, despite all his years of fighting to ensure the American people enjoy the freedom we're promised in this country, he's watching the left strip away freedoms at every turn and impose radical agendas on children, families, and consumers nationwide. Straight from that to, in 2009, Ron met the love of his life, Casey, in Florida, and now he's the proud father of 6, 5, and 3-year-old children without any kind of transition whatsoever.
It's just bad writing.
And I freaking love this photo of him. He looks so uncomfortable in this photo.
So let's recap.
A religious group got permission to participate in a holiday celebration in Iowa. A man, a Christian veteran, driven from Mississippi to destroy it. He's being charged with a crime. Ron DeSantis needs people to sign a petition, which is actually a survey to protect freedom. Not the freedom of the group that was wrong, mind you, nor the freedom of the state of Iowa to make decisions for themselves what it's worth, but the freedom of a man who crossed state lines to be a jerk. Once you've signed, he'd like you to chip in for a bumper sticker. Then he wants you to sign merch to his campaign in order to buy a hat that's currently on sale. Oh shoot, you were supposed to also text freedom to join the team per the header. Too much to track. Now he has a PSA warning you to watch out for the unscrupulous fundraising tactics he's using that he knows are wrong, but he has to do because otherwise Joe Biden wins. Then it's time to volunteer. And then please take 10 minutes to read a novella about Ron DeSantis and how much he loves family and freedom and how much he hates Anthony Fauci and wokeness.
Quite an email. If you'd like to write better emails than this, head to joshclemens.com/free-digital-trainings. I'm running a series of free digital trainings for potential or current candidates or staffers who are interested in taking back any level of government, down ballot, top of ticket, whatever. joshclemens.com/free-digital-trainings. Let's train up, let's spread the word, and let's make sure we win a whole lot of seats together in 2024, y'all.